Okay, so welcome to Tank Tips video for this week. I'm Chuck Mayer. This is my good buddy Pockets.
Hi guys.
This is Scott. He is the general manager here at Fishy Business, and he is right in the process of doing what this week's video is all about. This is the most important area of the whole store. It's not the place where the tanks are or where the fish are or where the dry goods are. It's right here, and it's called the testing station. This is the most important thing that any aquarium user needs to know. Everything begins and ends with water quality, and as you can see right now, we're in the process, just in the moment of this video, where I thought I was going to have an empty test station to start talking about water quality. The most important thing about water quality is it's setting the whole stage for everything that your tank is going to become. The environment that the fish live in, how they live, how they thrive, if they thrive, has to do with whether or not you are testing and keeping up with your water quality. It is the most important thing, from the tiniest nano aquarium and a little guppy tank right on up to the nicest reef tank or a mono plant tank. The most important thing you can do as an aquarist is to know where your water parameters are. A little bit that I'm going to talk about right now is just a very generalized overview. We can go into extreme detail on any one of the things that I'm going to talk about this week, but the most important thing is taking the time to test your water at least once a week. Every single thing doesn't necessarily need to be tested once a week, but it's a very good idea, and this hobby makes it very easy to do that because every manufacturer has some form of test kit that is very viable for you to use when testing your water. Here at Fishy Business, the main test kit that we use on any given day is the Sarah line of test kits. One, because they're a very affordable, very accurate for the money test kit. We do also heavily endorse Seachem's line and Red Sea as well. These just have always been the go-to test kit. They're easy for you to buy, they're easy for us to test and get to whatever point we're trying to find with your aquarium. It is a great idea to bring your water sample by and have us check it or cross-reference it. It is a very bad idea for you to ignore the fact you need to be doing water tests and testing it yourself at home. 95% of all problems that accompany or happen with fish disease or anything like that can be attributed first and foremost to water quality. Sometimes, sure, the fish can bring something from the outside in, or something can be caused within the time that you're keeping the fish with things like temperature, certain other types of issues, but water quality will always stand at number one, and 9 times out of 10, maybe even 9.5 times out of 10, if I check water by somebody who is self-diagnosed a fish disease when they come in and are trying to buy chemicals or something to treat the tank, most of the time there is a problem with the water that contributed to the problem. Doesn't always mean that you can't use or shouldn't use medications, but medications can be dangerous if they're misdiagnosed. And water quality is the number one place people mess up. So what about water parameters? Depending on what fish you keep, that's going to determine what kind of parameters you need to be staying in. And while I will tell you right away, you don't need to buy every test kit on the market, every type of additive on the market, there are some very important ones, and I'm going to talk about that now. If you have a freshwater aquarium, if you have a freshwater community aquarium, you need an ammonia test kit, you need a pH test kit, you need a nitrate test kit. Nitrite may be in the beginning, but those are the 4 most important test kits that you're going to need as you proceed to take care of that aquarium. Okay, so having said that, what does my pH need to be? What does my ammonia level need to be? What does my nitrates need to be? Quite simply, your pH in a general community aquarium is going to be somewhere between 6.8 to 7.2. We like to say 7, it's a good neutral number, and it's a pretty safe number for most of your common fish like tetras, barbs, things like that. Obviously, there are many of you out there that do specialized tanks with specialized fish. And yes, you can finite or fine-tune rather that number to go as specific as you want to, especially when it comes to African cichlids and things like that. But for a general aquarist, these are numbers we're looking at. We want the ammonia to be 0, we want the nitrites to be 0, and we want the nitrates to be as low as possible. Some present nitrate is not necessarily harmful, But nitrate, like most that we test, is very harmful. That being nitrate that's over 40 parts per million, 30 parts per million right in there. Ideally, we want it at 0. Some people let their tanks go a little ways, but these are things that are going to profoundly affect whatever aquarium you have and the fish therein. Now with saltwater, it's a little more involved, and especially if you have a reef tank. Absolutely, you want to check your pH, your phosphates, your nitrates, calcium, magnesium, and carbonate hardness. No reef tank is complete without the big 3, calcium, magnesium, and carbonate hardness. Those 3 are the main proponents, not the only proponents, but the main proponents that are going to keep your reef at a constant level where everything's going well. We want a calcium level to be somewhere around 400. We want a carbonate hardness level to be somewhere between 8 and 12. And we want the magnesium level to be somewhere around 1285 to 1300 part per million. That will ensure good, consistent coral growth, the good and consistent growth of the macroalgae that you want in the tank, as well as the microalgae. And it will give you the basis for a very clean, nice reef tank. With the saltwater tank, we want nitrates low. Some nitrate is good, some phosphate is good, but typically we try to keep phosphate around 0 because the negatives, because it can produce a lot of algae and feed that algae, we want them as low as possible. Nitrates of 30 part per million or less are tolerable in most any saltwater tank unless you're dealing with very finicky fish. There are a whole host of fish that need it to be 0. But those are parameters that you need to know going in. We want the pH to typically be around 8 to 8.4, somewhere in there. But that's the main thing that you have to pay attention to with your levels with salt water. I absolutely try to force everybody that has a saltwater aquarium to buy test kits. It can sometimes be a little harder with freshwater, but at the bare minimum, those things need to be tested on a regular basis, along with salinity, along with temperature, and things like that. Again, this is a generalized overview, but something that you need to pay attention to if you have one of these types of aquariums. African and South American cichlids can be a little different. With your South and Central American cichlids, we want the pH a little higher than 7. 7 to about 7.4 is a good generality for them. And with the Africans, we want anywhere from about a 7.5, 7.7, right on up to 8 for your Tanganicans and things like that. The African cichlids have a higher pH. They are the only fish that are a common fish that have really, really high pH, but definitely something that you want to pay attention to when you're checking your environment. In every single one of these, be it freshwater or saltwater, we want low nitrates. It's very easy to overlook them in freshwater because there's something that, as we learned in the nitrogen cycle video, build up over time, and they do it very quick with saltwater as well. Nitrates can be a huge problem once they get out of hand because they're not a quick fix. So that is why that particular test kit is very important to have. Again, we here at Fishy Business are here to help you with any questions you have about your water parameters, your water quality, and I do urge you to bring in a sample of water anytime you've got a question about something. But more than that, I urge you to take the time and a little bit of money and get your own primary test kits. Any one of us can help you with that, and we didn't even get into live plants and some of the other things that you need to be testing for. The importance of water quality is the importance of your aquarium. Have a great week.